All right, so let's try this one. Example number 3. We're kind of getting back into that complete the square mode. And what we're going to do is we want to solve this problem right here. X squared plus 8x equals 3. X squared plus 8x equals 3. You got it? Okay, write this down. Take out a piece of paper, write this down. All right, let's try this. The easiest way to solve this problem would be to factor it. I would take everything, put it over to the left side, and I got x squared plus 8x minus 3 equals 0. Are we cool? Now the easiest thing to do is if I were to be able to get this thing into 2 parentheses like this. This is not even, that's from quad like 1 or something like that. So I would go x and an x, and I would put in a plus and a minus. And what are 2 numbers that multiply out to be 3, but add to be 8? If you don't know, say I don't know. If you do know, give me an answer. Please do so now. What are 2 numbers that multiply out to be 3 and add to be 8? Can you hear me at least? Oh, okay, you're thinking. All right, all right. Well, it's not just you, Raven. Somebody else can answer, please. Chime in here. And I'll be honest with you. All right, somebody say IDK. Please. Just somebody do it. All right, none. All right, none is actually even a better answer than IDK. You're right, Raven. There is none. There is no number that multiplies out to be 3. Or isn't any pair of numbers that multiply out to be 3 and adds up to be 8. So the thing about it is this this factoring method doesn't work. Factoring method only works if the numbers are pre-chosen to be nice. Well, these numbers aren't chosen to be nice. So we kind of have to go back to that completing the square thing. Now, let's go back to doing this. X squared plus 8x equals 3. I'm going to rewrite the equation, but instead I'm going to put a big space over here. So it's x squared plus 8x equals 3. Are we cool? All right. Now, I'm going to add a random number to the outside of this thing. I'm going to add 16 to this side right here. And I'm waiting for you to ask, why did you add 16? Raven, I agree with you. I agree with Raven. Before I answer why did I add 16, Raven's saying, hey, you added 16 to one side of an equation. You better add 16 to the other side of the equation, buddy, or you're going to be in big trouble. I agree with you, Raven. I don't want to upset you, so let's add 16 to both sides. I agree. But why 16? Where did that come from? It's double of 8. No, that's not exactly where it came from. No. 4 squared is 16. I agree with you, Jillian. That's where it comes from. It's not double of 8. But what I did was I took this 8 and I divided it by 2, and then I squared it. And that's how I got my number. So it's the b over 2 squared. So b over 2 is 4. Square that is 16. Yeah, that's the one. All right. Now I can factor this thing over here. This becomes x. Wait a second. Yeah. Plus 4 equals, and I'm going to deal with the stuff on the right side, it's just 19. Are we cool? Now this becomes x plus 4 squared equals 19. Right, the left-hand side is x plus 4 times x plus 4 is the same as x plus 4 squared. All right, square root both sides, you end up getting x plus 4 equals square root of 19. Everyone agree? Yes, no? Wrong! Ah! Don't forget the plus or minus. Remember, I square rooted both sides, so I'm going to have to take the plus or minus. Are we good? All right. Now, I'm going to take this 4 over to the other side, and I'm going to say x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 19. Okay. Let's go back to a calculator here. What is 4 plus the square root? I wonder if I can type in SQRT. No. Oh, 19. Oh, I'm sorry, it's negative 4 plus the square root of 19. There you go, 0.358898. 358899. 0.358899. All right, that's one of my answers. My other answer is the same thing, negative 4 minus the square root of 19. Negative 8.35888. Negative 8.3588899. I think that's right. Yeah, right. Good. Cool. Awesome. Those are my two answers. Now, why was I not able to put this, oops, sorry. Why was I not able to factor them? Because they didn't come out to be nice, pretty numbers. If they did come out to be nice, pretty numbers, I would have been able to factor this, no problem. But since they didn't, I couldn't factor this. I had to use this complete the square method. Remember, I told you the complete the square method is like the bazooka in the room. If you want to kill a fly, you could use a fly swatter sometimes. Or you could use a bazooka. The bazooka is a lot more work, a lot more cleanup, but I guarantee you it will do the job. Right? Or you can use a fly swatter. It won't always work because the flies are so dang fast. You know. So, there's one that will guarantee do the job, but it's a lot of work. There's one that will work sometimes if the numbers come out to be nice. What I'd like for you to do is be able to look at an equation and say, I think that the best way to approach this would be to, make it so that it's, I can factor this. All right. So the equation for complete the square doesn't work on factoring. Oh, no. Complete the square always works. It always works. It's more work than factoring, but it always works. Factoring is the one that doesn't always work. Factoring only works if the numbers come out pretty. Are we cool with that? Now I'm going to do something real quickly with you, and I want you to keep this in mind. Previously, when I did this problem, I did it a little bit differently. And I didn't do this exact problem, but I did a similar problem to this. I'm going to do it in red. I'll do it real quickly over here. I'm not doing anything significantly different, but I do want you to show you guys this real quick. Okay, this is the same thing. All I did was I moved the 3 over to the left side. You guys agree? Now what I've done before is I did this. I said, all right, I'm going to put a weird space, x squared plus 8x, and I'm going to put it right after here. So there's this big space and another big space, and I'm going to put minus 3 equals 0. Cool? And then what I would do is I would add 16 to this side. But what I did is I'm going to subtract 16 at the same time. So when you add 16 and subtract 16, that's doing the same thing as adding 16 to both sides. I added 16 over here and I added 16 over here, or I could have added 16 on one side and subtract 16 on that same side. Because what would happen to the equation if I added 16 and take away 16? Yeah, I agree with you that the black way looks easier, but we're probably going to be doing it in the red way more often. So I want you guys to be familiar with it. It's not any different from how I did it in the black way. The only difference is I'm putting the numbers in a little bit. It might look a little bit different to you. I don't want you to get confused. I want you to know that I'm doing the same exact thing. Because I'll get the same exact answer. See these first three numbers? That comes out to be x plus 4 times x plus 4. And then these last two numbers, that becomes negative 19 equals 0. That's the same thing. X plus 4 squared minus 19 equals 0. Yes, and Raven, exactly. To answer my question, plus 16 minus 16 is the same as just adding 0. And I can add 0 all day long, and I'm not being unfair. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing. Is when I add a random number to one side, I want to be fair. So I can either add a random number to both sides of the equation, or I could add 0 to one side of the equation, which is the same as adding a random number and subtracting it at the same time. Does that make sense? It's a subtle difference, but I mean, sometimes I might solve these problems, and the way I come up with these solutions might look a little bit different, but I do want you to know that the black and the red way is the exact same thing. And if you want to do it the black way, I'll show you how to do it the black way, but most of the time, I'll be doing the question the red way. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. I don't see any advantage to learning it the red way over the black way. So if you guys feel like doing it the black way is better, why don't we just solve all of these problems from now on doing it the black way? There's no real difference. It's just the difference of, adding 16 as opposed to subtracting 16. But anyway, let's try a few more of these example problems. All right, so wait, here we go. Let's do this one. So let's see. Additional practice problems. I'll let you practice that. I'll let you practice that. Okay, all right, here we go. So let's try this one. X squared minus 26x equals negative 15. Okay. X squared minus 26x equals negative 15. I'm kind of skipping steps here. Instead of just writing down the problem and then rewriting it with the big space, I'm just writing it down the first time with the big space. Okay? Now, I'm going to choose to add a random number here. Which number would you guys choose? I'm going to wait because I want you guys to really understand this. 6.5? What? No. I want to add a random number to this side. Oh, I see what you did. Okay, all right, here we go. Raven, what you did is you did negative 26 divided by 2 caret 2. And you plug that into your calculator and it gave you 6.5. Is that what you did? Ah, Raven, remember, what you really want to do is negative 26 divided by 2, get your answer, which is negative 13, and then square that. You want to square that. What you ended up telling the calculator to do is do negative 26 divided by 2 squared. And when you please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, the calculator thinks, oh, I should do the exponents before I do the division. So really what you told the calculator to do was do negative 26 divided by 4, because 2 squared is 4. I like that we're seeing these mistakes now. Which is why Mr. Dalday is such a jerk about parentheses. And I will be, and all of your math teachers will be. And I remember thinking to myself when I took math, wow, this guy's such a jerk when it comes to parentheses. He's like such a stickler for them. But it does make a difference. Try this, Raven. Try plugging this into your calculator. In fact, everyone try that. What do you get? $169, exactly. And that's the answer you should be putting in. Okay? So, the reason why I'm making a big deal out of this is not because I want to pick on you. It's because I care about you guys, and I don't want you to make these mistakes. How sad it is that you know how to do the math, but maybe you plugged into your calculator a little bit wrong. The way you describe numbers, the way you put parentheses, it all makes a big difference. See what I mean? So I don't want you to get burned on these dumb mistakes. By the way, that's an aside. That's not, that's just on the side work. We added 169 to the left side. We better add 169 to the right side as well. That's only fair. This, if I were to factor this, x, do you know what number goes here? I'll tell you what it is, negative 13. It's just half of this number right here. Negative 26 over 2 is okay. By the way, someone use a calculator. What is 169 minus 15? I don't have a calculator on hand. I just depend on you guys for it. Come on, people. It's 169. 154. All right, 154. Okay, so this is x minus 13 squared equals 154. I'm going to take the square root of both sides, so that would be x minus 13 equals 154 square root. Everyone agree? No! How many times do I got to burn you on this before you remember? Don't forget the plus or minus. When you take the square root of both sides, throw in that plus or minus. Yeah, no, don't worry about it. Look, the reason why I'm pointing this out so many times is not because I hate you, not because I want to embarrass you in front of your students or classmates or whatever. I want you to remember to always add in that plus or minus when you take the square root of both sides. All right. Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay, so someone with a calculator, what is the square root of 154? Actually, you know what? I'm going to add 13 to both sides, and I have x equals 13 plus or minus the square root of 154. And you can plug that into your calculator and get the right answer. Square root of 154 is probably some number that's like, I'd say about like, let's see, the square root of, isn't it like 12 or something like that? 12 point something. Okay, so one of the answers is 25.409. What is the other answer? It's probably like 1.3. Oh, yeah, no, it would be 0.6, yeah. All right. Or 0.590. By the way, now that I'm curious, I told you that the square root of 154 is about 12 point something. What is the square root of 154? Oh, okay, so I wasn't that far off. Okay. So that's your answer. It crosses at 25.409 or 0.059. Blah, 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 0.59. That's it. Okay. So, Raven, you were saying you were having trouble with which homework? Let's take a look at it. Because I feel like this might have covered what you needed. Okay, let me take a look real quick. Modules. Quad, this, completely squared, advanced. Okay, it's this one. Let's take a look at what this homework is. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. I see what's going on. All right. Now here's the thing that's really hard, and this is I don't blame you for failing this test because I didn't teach you how to do this yet. Okay? We're going to be dealing with fractions here, and here's the hard part. You see this complete the square trick that we've been doing? On all of these problems, there wasn't any number in this slot right here. Did you notice that? There wasn't a number in front of the x squared term, whereas with this homework over here, there's a number in front of it. And I hate to say this, but this trick, this complete the square trick, doesn't work if there's a number in front of that spot right there. So, what you're going to have to do, give me a second, my computer's a little bit frozen. It's going to think about what it wants to do, and then, there we go. So what you're going to have to do is 2x squared plus 10x. 2x squared plus 10x plus 11. Okay. Audio check. Audio? Hello? Can you hear me? All right, so sorry about that. A little bit of a glitch. All right, let me think. The best way to solve this problem, I was telling you that you cannot actually solve this problem using the tricks that we did. You're going to have to do a little bit of tricking this thing. You're going to be doing a little bit of playing around. Let me show you it in the easiest way I know how to do this. What I would do is I would go 2x squared plus 10x equals negative 11. Are we cool with that? Now, the second thing I would do is the complete the square trick only works if there is a 1 in front of the x squared term. Or there's no number in front of the x squared term, which is the same as having a 1 in front of the x squared term. But there isn't. Yes, exactly, Raven. The problem is there isn't. So, how do we do this problem? And here's what I would tell you to do. How would I get a 1 to be in front of the x squared term? I would divide by 2, right? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1. But what you have to do is, you don't have to do both sides, you have to do everything. So we're going to be dealing with fractions here. Alright, well deal with it. I mean, we're going to have fractions. So I have x squared plus 5x equals negative 11 over 2. I'm just going to leave that because, I mean, you could write that as 5.5 if you wanted to. I mean, I don't really care, but it's up to you. Does that make sense? Okay, first of all, the reason why I put this 11 onto the right-hand side is because you guys like doing things the black way, where you guys like taking it and moving it to the right side. That's fine, I can do that. So that's why I did that. Then I divided both sides, everything by 2, and the reason why I did that is to get rid of the or the number in front of the x squared term. That leaves me with something that doesn't have an x squared term, but it also gives me a fraction that I have to deal with. Well, now I can still use my complete the square trick. And since I have a calculator, I'm not too worried about the fraction. So what's the number I want to add here to both sides? And I hate to say it, but my computer is frozen again. What is the number that you want to add to both sides? Can you hear me? Can you hear the audio? Check. Check, check. Hello. Okay, okay. You can hear. Are you saying uh-oh because you don't know what number you add to both sides? Oh, okay. I'll tell you what it is. It's pretty straightforward. It's 25 over 4. No, not... Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. I wrote down 24 over 4. No, it's 25 over 4. Do you guys understand where I got that? It's not 5 times 5. You have to divide it by 2. So what is 5 over 2? Well, it's just 5 over 2. I mean, I guess you could write 2.5. And then you square 2.5. You'll get some decimals, but that's the same answer. It's going to give you the same numbers. So all I said was, oh, okay, well, 5 over 2 squared is 25 over 4. Does that make sense? Yeah, I know I'm dealing with fractions, but I mean, deal with it. You got a calculator on you. Now on the on this left-hand side, this becomes x plus 5 over 2. And on the right-hand side, that's the same as negative 22 over 4 plus 25 over 4. So that's what, 3 over 4? Yeah, I see what you're saying, Raven. You're saying, wait a second, 25 minus 11 is 14. Yeah, but I need to make common denominators. So this 11 had a 2 in the denominator. I wanted to make it a 4 in the denominator, so I had to multiply both the top and bottom by 4. Because I'm adding two fractions that have a different denominator. You guys remember this stuff, right? So what I should do now is I should square root both sides. So this would be x plus 5 over 2 equals the square root of 3 over 4. Everyone agree? Aha! You got it. You're right. You need the plus or minus. I'm still trying to trick you because I'm a jerk. All right. Yes, exactly. You need the plus or minus. Square root of 3/4. I guess if you wanted to plug into your calculator, you could use square root of 0.75. It's the same thing. And you'll have x equals negative 5 over 2 plus or minus the square root of 3 over 4. So you plug that into your calculator. By the way, 5 over 2 is the same as, I think it's negative 2.5 plus or minus the square root of 0.75. Either of these answers is correct. Plug those into your calculators. That is how you get your answer. So it's not even that hard of a step to make, to deal with. But it's not, I wouldn't say it's an extra step. If you have a number in front of this x squared term right here, like this, then all you need to do, well, it's a little bit harder because what you have to do is you have to get rid of that 2 by dividing it, dividing everything by it. So you divide everything by the 2. And then that gets rid of it. And then you basically do the same thing that we're doing with complete the square. You're just, the hard part about this part of the homework, this advanced part of the homework, is you're going to have a lot more fractions to deal with. But since you have a calculator on hand, I wouldn't worry too much. Now, again, there's another... Would I accept fraction form? No, I don't think the calculator, I don't even think the homework can grade the fraction form. So you're going to have to give it to me in terms of decimals. And I believe that this one will round off your answer. So, put it in as accurately as possible, but if you don't get every single number correctly, I think it will still give you the points. The way I designed that quiz is that's how I did it. So anyway, that's how you do these advanced ones. It's like an extra step that you would have to do. Lots of fractions, a lot of paperwork, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'll recap this thing and then I'll finish off class. So, we started off with a problem that doesn't have a 1 over here. So what I did was, first I added 11 to both, or I subtracted 11 to both sides, because you guys like doing it the black way. I'm fine with that. Then what I did was I divided everything by 2 because I wanted to get rid of the number in front of the x squared term. That gives me a fraction, but I'd rather deal with a fraction and know how to do it than not have a fraction and not know how to do it. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, 10 divided by 2 is 5, and 11 divided by 2 I just left as 11 divided by 2. Then what I did was I did that weird trick where I added some random number to both sides, but it's not a random number, it's just 5 divided by 2 squared, which I guess is the same as 2.5 squared, is the same as 25 over 4. Someone used their calculator, what is 2.5 squared? And then somebody else used their calculator, and what is 25 over 4? Should be the same answer. Alright. Then what I did was I said, all right, well, if I could factor this thing over here, that factors down to look like this. X plus 5 over 2 squared. And then I just dealt with the stuff on the right-hand side, keeping in mind that I have a fraction with 2 different denominators, wanting to make them the same denominator, so I added them like that. Are we cool? Then what I did was I took the square root of both sides, not forgetting my plus or minus. Then I pushed the negative 5 halves over to the right-hand side, and this was my answer. Well, technically you're going to have to figure out, using your calculator, what negative 2.5 plus or minus the square root of 0.75 is. And that's what you plug into your answer. But it's, I mean, but that's the finished stage at that point. You're done. Are we good? I recapped the whole thing for you. All right, folks, have a good day. I got to go teach my next class. All right, bye.